bear in a baseball hat is trying to comfort a fox with a droopy tail and a rain cloud over her head. Suddenly, the ground underneath the fox cracks, and the fox and her rain cloud tumble into a deep hole. This animated video is narrated by Dr. Brené Brown, a researcher on courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. As the fox lands in the pit, the bear climbs down a narrow ladder, and Brown says, "Empathy is a sacred space where someone is in this deep hole, and they cry out from the bottom and they say, 'It's dark, I'm stuck, I'm overwhelmed.' And we climb down and say, 'I know what it's like down here, and you are not alone.'" Parashat Vayera presents several narratives of God and God's messengers climbing down ladders into deep holes and creating those sacred spaces by saying, "You are not alone." Avraham is not alone as he sits in pain at the entrance of his tent. Hagar and Ishmael are not alone when they are cast out into the desert. Yitzchak is not alone when he's bound and thrust on top of an altar. Although these are each distinct stories, each of them demonstrates ways that God models for Avraham how to be present for people who are stuck in seemingly inescapable pits. One explicit example of this modeling takes place just before the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Amorah, when God reveals the steps of God's decision-making process to Avraham. V'Adonai amar, hamech aseh ani me'Avraham asher ani oseh. God said, "Should I hide from Avraham what I am about to do? Ki yedativ leman asher yitzaveh et panav et beito acharav, v'shamru derech Adonai la'asot tzedakah u'mishpat. For I have selected him, that he may teach his children and their descendants to keep the way of God by doing what is just and right." Yedativ is usually translated as selected or singled out, but Rashi explains that the word, stemming from the root yada, describes a knowing that it reflects intimacy and affection and love. But being in relationship with someone is not just about knowing and loving them. It's not just about revealing plans to them or believing in their futures or the mark they might leave in the world. It's also about behavior. In order for Avraham and Sarah to teach the next generation how to be God's partners, Avraham, who, since we have been introduced to him, is a man who has already estranged himself from his family of origin, given his wife to another man to save his own life, and exiled his son Ishmael, needs God to teach this chosen partner how to be in relationship with other people. So God says to Avraham, "Erdana vera'eh, hakatakata haba'a alai asu kala ve'eda." I will go down to Sodom, and I will see whether they have acted according to the cry that has reached me, and I will know. The word for outcry in this verse is in the singular possessive feminine form, tza'akata. And the Midrash in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says that tza'akata refers to the cry of a specific young woman. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the people of Sodom passed a law condemning to death anyone who fed the vulnerable. One young woman, Plotit, Avraham's niece, saw a man experiencing poverty, and the Midrash, echoing Job, says that her soul wept for him. Unable to ignore this man's troubles or her own grieving soul, she began secretly feeding him every single day. The people of Sodom realized that this man, who seemingly had no resources, was surviving. They realized what Plotit had been doing and brought her to be punished. She cried out, "Sovereign of all the worlds, defend my just cause to the people of Sodom." Her cry rose up to the throne of glory, and in that moment, God said to Avraham, "I will go down, and I will see if the people of Sodom have acted kitza'akat hana'ara hazot, according to the outcry of this young woman. If it's true, I will overturn the foundations." This Midrash adds a new dimension to what God wanted to share with Avraham. When God asked, "Should I hide my plans from Avraham?" it's almost as though God wanted to say, "I am about to go down into a dark pit and sit with a woman who is struggling and isolated in a city where people deny the very existence of suffering." What God demonstrates for Avraham here is exactly the opposite of what the people of Sodom did in this Midrash. The crime that led to the absolute destruction of their city was ignoring people in pain. Through this conversation, God reveals to Avraham that Avraham's obligation and our inherited responsibility is to respond to suffering by going down, witnessing it, and engaging with it. God wanted to teach Avraham to climb down the narrow ladder, get into the pit, and to create that sacred space generated by empathy. As we are reminded in Psalm 34 that we recite on Shabbat and holidays, using the same language of tza'ak that we heard before, God is always close to the people who cry out in pain. Tza'aku v'Adonai shamea, karov Adonai lenishberei lev. They cry out and God hears. God is close to the brokenhearted. When God hears Plotit's cry, God tells Avraham, it's not enough to hear about a problem and try to fix it. I sent my messengers to Sodom, and that's part of it, but when you hear the cry of the brokenhearted, you have to go be close to them. You have to witness them, accompany them, comfort them, and embrace them. You don't just get to angrily destroy things, you show up. As the descendants of Avraham and Sarah, we are now God's earthly partners in creating a world built on foundations of kindness and justice. We are now the ones tasked with creating sacred spaces that can only exist through our own empathy. Like God, we must hear those who are crying out and suffering, and like God, we must be close to the brokenhearted. In her novel, Gilead, Marilyn Robinson depicts the life of Reverend John Ames, a pastor in a small town in Iowa who, in his old age, writes the story of his life for his young son to remember him by. Reverend Ames reflects, people are always up in the night, with colicky babies and sick children, or fighting, or worrying, or full of guilt. Sometimes when I walked past the houses of one of my own families and saw the lights on, I'd think, maybe I should stop and see if there was a way I could help. But then I'd remember, it might be an intrusion, and I'd go on. And I'd try to remember the people who lived in each house, and I'd pray for them. And I'd imagine a peace they didn't expect and couldn't account for descending on their illness, or their quarreling, or their dreams. I love the intimacy and affection that comes across in this late night stroll. The care that Reverend Ames has for his parishioners and his aspirations to provide subtle and unexpected care for each household is palpable and humbling. At the same time, I'm troubled by what Ames perceives as an intrusion when he considers trying to stop and help. He is walking past people who he knows are in deep holes, and he keeps on walking. Maybe he should have stopped at every house where the lights were on. It's true that barging into people's houses late at night is not exactly appropriate, but I also wonder if maybe his concern about intrusion is actually Ames being blocked by his own fear. Many of us avoid climbing down into places of pain because we are afraid of saying something wrong, of saying too much, of not saying enough, of being vulnerable or tapping into our own suffering. Sitting with someone while they are hurting can be hard and intimidating, but we need to find ways to be the ones who can both offer anonymous prayers of peace late at night and sit with people when they are hurting and feeling alone in the darkness. Parashat Vayera is a charge to us to let those around us know we are people who can hold their pain or their hand or sit with them at the murky bottom of a deep hole. The inhabitants of Sodom wanted to pretend suffering and vulnerability didn't exist and to castigate, shame, and punish anyone who sought to alleviate it. But pain is real. Suffering is real, and those deep pits where people are hurting and feeling alone are so very real. This is God's message to Avraham and to us throughout Parashat Vayera. If we are going to continue fulfilling our roles as God's partners, we have to be the ones to say, Eredana, I will come down to you wherever you are. Ve'era'eh, I will see whatever hurt you want to share with me. Ve'eda'a, I will know you, and through that knowing, I will love you.